I was sipping my morning latte, the city skyline spilling golden light through my loft's wide glass windows, when my phone buzzed across the marble counter. The notification preview lit up. Family group chat urgent. Mom scheduled a meeting. Tonight. Everyone must attend. I almost laughed. The same woman who forgot my birthday, again, was suddenly hosting a family meeting? My 27th birthday had passed just last week. No call. No text. Not even a lazy Facebook comment. But somehow my Audi post, one single picture of me standing next to my new $55,000 baby, captioned with nothing but a smile emoji, had caught her attention. Now, apparently, my success was worth a calendar event. I leaned back against the cool leather of my bar stool, twisting the delicate chain around my neck. My reflection in the window looked calm, polished, silk blouse in soft ivory, hair falling in easy waves, the quiet poise of someone who had learned how to armor herself with elegance. Inside, though, the familiar cocktail of emotions churned: hurt, pride, resilience, and yes, a trace of bitter irony. I thought of how many birthdays I'd spent waiting for her acknowledgement, how many times I convinced myself it didn't matter. And yet, here I was, heart thrumming harder than I wanted to admit, because this meeting, this sudden urgency, meant she had finally noticed. But not me. My car. Birthdays were always complicated in my house. Growing up in Ohio, I learned early that celebration was conditional. My mom remembered when it was convenient, when guests were around, when it made her look good. But the quieter years? My birthdays slipped by like misplaced receipts. I still remember my 16th. I had saved for weeks to buy a simple dress from the clearance rack at Macy's, one that made me feel grown up. I walked into the kitchen that morning, expecting at least a happy birthday. Instead, Mom was rushing around, phone wedged between her shoulder and ear, yelling at my brother to grab his football gear. No cake. No card. No acknowledgement. I sat at the table, hands pressed together so tightly my knuckles ached, waiting for her to remember. She never did. The sting that day wasn't just about the forgotten candles. It was about feeling invisible. That hollow ache stayed with me. I can still feel the lump in my throat, the silence of an empty kitchen echoing louder than any cruel words. Later that evening, my grandmother stopped by. She wasn't glamorous, not like Mom tried to be. But she saw me. She pressed a small leather notebook into my hands, its cover worn soft at the edges. "Write your future in here," she whispered. "Don't wait for someone else to give you a story worth living." Her words landed like a lifeline. I started scribbling in that notebook, dreams, plans, even rough sketches of how I'd escape. Each page became a promise to myself that I wouldn't keep waiting for my family to see me. By the time I turned 18, the pattern was clear. Another forgotten birthday, another year of trying to be enough. That was the year I packed 2 suitcases, slid the notebook into the side pocket, and bought a one-way ticket to New York. I didn't say goodbye. I didn't throw a scene. I just left. That night, as the bus pulled away from the only home I'd ever known, my hands trembled on the notebook in my lap. My heart was pounding with equal parts fear and freedom. For the first time, I wasn't waiting for anyone to remember me. I was deciding to remember myself. New York didn't welcome me with open arms, it tested me. The city was loud, relentless, and far more expensive than I'd calculated in my notebook margins. My first apartment was a shoebox in Queens, walls thin enough that I knew my neighbor's dinner menu before he opened his door. But it was mine. I was free. At first, survival was the goal. I juggled 3 jobs: pouring lattes at a coffee shop, answering phones in a cramped office, and babysitting for a family who thought generous pay meant leftover takeout. I came home exhausted, shoes in hand, feet aching, mascara smudged. Some nights, I cried into the cheap pillow that flattened within a week. But still, I wrote. Every night, even when my hands shook with fatigue, I opened my grandmother's notebook and scribbled. Ideas, goals, plans. The turning point came when I met Caroline. She was one of the regulars at the cafe, mid-40s, stylish without trying too hard, always carrying a laptop. One morning, She noticed me sketching a business plan in the margins of an old receipt during my break. Instead of ignoring it, she leaned over and asked, "What are you building?" I stammered something about ideas, about maybe starting a digital marketing service. Instead of laughing, she invited me to sit with her after my shift. Caroline was a consultant who had built her own firm from scratch. For reasons I still can't explain, she decided to mentor me. She taught me how to pitch, how to price my work, how to negotiate without apologizing. She pushed me past the self-doubt, past the stereotypes that tried to box me in as too young, too female, too inexperienced. And slowly, painfully, I began to climb. My first client was a local boutique. I charged them barely enough to cover my subway pass, but when they sent me a thank you note saying sales had doubled, I felt something shift inside me. My second client paid real money. My third referred me to 5 more. I kept my wins quiet. I didn't post flashy updates, didn't call home bragging. When my mom asked how I was, I defaulted to safe phrases. "I'm fine. Busy. Managing." Truth was, I was working 12-hour days, teaching myself everything from design software to tax codes. The grind was brutal, but the victories lit me up. The night I signed my first 5-figure contract, I celebrated alone. Cheap champagne, Chinese takeout, and a dance in my pajamas. It wasn't glamorous, but it was mine. And then, last month, I did something I swore I'd wait years for. I walked into a dealership and bought my dream car, a sleek, midnight black Audi. Not leased. Not borrowed.
Paid. In. Full.
When I slid into the leather driver's seat, inhaling that new car scent, I thought of every forgotten birthday, every moment of invisibility, every ache that pushed me harder. I snapped one picture, just me and the car, a quiet victory. I didn't expect it to go viral in my family group chat. But apparently, nothing says she made it to them like German engineering on 4 wheels. The family meeting was set for Saturday evening. My phone lit up with reminder texts all day, like I was suddenly the most important person on the planet. I almost didn't go. But something in me wanted closure, or maybe I just wanted to see their faces when they realized the girl they once dismissed had rewritten her entire story. I pulled into my mom's driveway just before sunset, the Audi's engine purring like a secret weapon. The house looked the same as always, paint peeling a little, lawn uneven, porch light still broken. My brother's truck was already parked out front, and I could hear voices carrying through the open kitchen window. When I stepped inside, all conversation stopped. My mom's eyes went straight to the car keys dangling from my hand, the polished Audi emblem catching the light. She blinked, like she wasn't sure if it was real. "Sit down," she said finally, voice tight, almost rehearsed. I slid into a chair at the dining table, the same table where countless birthdays had passed unnoticed. Except this time, all eyes were on me. My brother, his wife, even my uncle, they stared like I'd just walked in wearing a crown. Mom cleared her throat. "So, we saw your post."
The car.
"An Audi? $55,000. Her tone carried equal parts disbelief and accusation. "Where did you get that kind of money?" I let the silence stretch, enjoying the way they squirmed. Then I folded my hands on the table, my nails freshly painted, steady. "I earned it." My brother scoffed. "Doing what?" "Last I heard you were waitressing." "That was 5 years ago," I said evenly. "Since then, I've built a digital marketing firm. Clients across the country. Team of 7. 6-figure revenue. And that car outside? Paid for. No loans." The room froze. My uncle's fork clattered onto his plate. My brother leaned back, arms crossed, searching my face for a lie. Mom just stared, lips parted, eyes darting between me and the keys. "You?" she whispered, as if the idea was inconceivable. "Yes, me." My voice was calm, but inside, my pulse pounded. "The same me you've overlooked my whole life. The one whose birthdays you forgot. The one you said would never make it on her own. That me." A flush crept up Mom's neck. She opened her mouth, closed it, then tried again. "Why didn't you tell us?" "Because," I said, leaning forward, "you never asked." You only notice when it's convenient, when it looks shiny enough to post about. But where were you when I was struggling to pay rent? When I cried myself to sleep? When I worked until sunrise just to prove I could stand on my own?
You didn't want my story then.
You only want it now that it comes with leather seats and a price tag. No one spoke. Even my brother, usually quick with a jab, looked down at his hands. I let the silence thicken before adding, softly but firmly, I didn't build this life for your approval. I built it because I had to. Because I deserved better. For the first time in years, I saw something in their faces I'd never seen before, something close to respect, tangled with guilt. They were stunned, caught between shame and awe, realizing the girl they had dismissed was the woman sitting across from them, unshakable. And in that moment, I felt taller than I ever had in this house. The silence lingered like a heavy fog, pressing against every corner of the room. For once, no one had a quick answer, no sarcastic remark, no deflection. It was just me, their gazes, and the undeniable truth hanging between us. I exhaled slowly, letting the weight of the moment settle before I spoke again. I'm not here to rub success in your face, I began, voice steady but unyielding. But I need you to understand something. If you want a place in my life, the rules have changed. My brother frowned. Rules? What do you mean? I said, folding my arms, respect is no longer optional. You don't get to dismiss me, ignore me, or treat me like I'm invisible until it's convenient. If you want a relationship, it starts with acknowledgement. Birthdays, phone calls, asking about my life without judgment, basic respect. Mom's face flushed. You think we don't respect you? I met her eyes. I think you only see me when it benefits you. That ends now. If you want to be part of my future, you show up. Not just when there's something shiny to admire. I turned to my brother. And you, stop with the constant belittling. I'm not your punchline. If you want to be in my circle, you build me up instead of tearing me down. He shifted uncomfortably, jaw tight, but he didn't argue. And Mom, I added, softer this time, I don't need gifts or grand gestures. I need honesty, effort. For once, I need you to see me, not for what I drive, but for who I am. Her eyes glistened, though whether with anger or regret, I couldn't tell. Finally, I leaned back, letting my words sink in. I'll give you a choice. You can step into my life with respect, effort, and sincerity, or you can stay on the sidelines. Either way, I'll be fine. But if you want me, really want me, then it's on you to meet me halfway. The room stayed hushed, heavy with the sound of unspoken truths. My uncle cleared his throat, shifting in his chair. My brother stared at the table. My mom looked at me as if seeing me for the first time, not as the girl she overlooked, but as the woman who had outgrown her approval. For the first time, the power was mine. Not because of the Audi, not because of money, but because I finally realized I didn't need their validation. They needed mine. And in their silence, I knew they understood. In the weeks that followed, something shifted. It wasn't instant, it wasn't perfect, but it was noticeable. My brother actually called me just to ask how my day was going. No jokes at my expense, no sarcasm tucked between words. Just genuine curiosity. His wife even sent me a recipe she thought I'd love, adding, we should cook it together sometime. And Mom, she tried. The first attempt was clumsy, a good morning text with 3 random emojis that didn't quite fit. But when my phone buzzed again on a Tuesday afternoon, and I opened it to see the words, Happy belated birthday, sweetheart. I'm sorry I forgot. I had to sit down. The message was 27 years late, but it was more than I ever thought I'd get. I didn't forgive instantly. Wounds don't vanish because someone finally says the words you needed to hear. But I saw effort, and effort was a beginning. One evening, as I sat in my Audi parked outside my loft, I reached into the glove compartment and pulled out my grandmother's worn leather notebook. The pages were nearly filled now. Plans realized, dreams crossed off, new ones added. I traced my fingers along the faded cover. One evening, as I sat in my Audi parked outside my loft, I reached into the glove compartment and pulled out my grandmother's worn leather notebook. The pages were nearly filled now. Plans realized, dreams crossed off, new ones added. I traced my fingers along the faded cover, hearing her voice again. Write your future in here. Don't wait for someone else to give you a story worth living. She had been right all along. My life wasn't defined by the birthdays forgotten, the silence of an empty kitchen, or even the shimmer of a luxury car. It was defined by the woman I chose to become when no one else believed in me. I closed the notebook and whispered, almost like a vow, I'm not invisible anymore. And for the first time, the words didn't feel like a plea. They felt like truth.